Hello, and welcome to the Energy and Consciousness Summit. I'm Sheila Derfler, your host, and today we have with us Prune Harris. And Prune is someone whose work I've been following since 2013. And her work is as an energy medicine Eden Energy Medicine faculty member, and she's also a medical intuitive. And her videos on YouTube supported me through a really rough time in my life. And it is just a dream come true to have Prune here with me today to talk about her work and to talk about energy medicine and wherever else we're taking this journey together. So welcome, Prune. So good to have you here.
Thanks, Sheila. And it's really such an honor to be here and to hear some of your story. And I'm very glad that those videos were able to support your transformation.
Yes, they did. They did. As I mentioned before we got on, they were my library. They were literally my library. Every time I had something pop up, whether it was a physical ailment or a particular issue or, struggle, blockage, I would Google like Prune Harris and then the symptom or the body part like Prune Harris. So yeah, they're my go-to.
That is brilliant. I think right now we've probably got nearly 300 videos up there. So yeah, there's quite a big range.
That's great. That's great. So can you describe for everyone a little bit about what Eden Energy Medicine is and maybe just how it is different or special compared to some of the other modalities, energy medicine modalities that are out there?
Yeah, because energy medicine is a massive term, isn't it? I think of it like an umbrella term. So you've got people like Alberto Viodo and his school of shamanism, and he calls that energy medicine. When I teach shamanic courses, I tend to call that energy medicine, or I'll put shamanic energy medicine in it. Eden Energy Medicine has amazing, amazing gifts of being able to bring the understandings of many different energy systems and kind of wrap it up into interesting exercises, ways of working directly with the physical body. Very, very simple. Could be holding a few acupoints on the body, could be working with some figure eights in the aura to actually enhance your energy fields. Amazing ways of bringing together your energy systems. And of course, as we were talking earlier, what's so important anytime you're working to bring balance, because that's all healing is, isn't it? Bringing balance. And whether you're bringing balance to yourself, to your family or your community, your loved ones, or to the planet, because right now we can get very focused on the problems that the planet's experiencing, or the problems that humanity is experiencing, or the problems that you're experiencing physically. But of course, they're all the same energy system. We live in this amazing, amazing web of life. And it feels really an amazing time for all of us to be kind of holding a different level of consciousness around the way that individual health impacts global health. Global health impacts individual. And of course, with the coronavirus pandemic, we really saw that. We saw how interconnected every single person was, both in the beautiful ways, like people showing up to really help each other, neighbors knocking on doors, finding out if things need to be delivered to people that we're shielding or protecting, to more wildlife active in places that they had not generally been in for decades because of human impact there. So there was certainly tragedy and loss and grief during the past year, but there's also been some really amazing expansions of where we want to be in ourselves, in our lives, in our communities. Yesterday, for the very first time, I was able to go into our village pub. Now, that pub's been closed for nearly a year. It opened briefly. And I went in the garden. We're not allowed in our inside places at the moment, but went into the pub garden. I had a glass of fizzy water. I chatted to lots of people in the village that were also there having their cups of teas or a glass of beer. And it was just, it's that coming together of community, that feeling of, this is healing for me, being in healthy community.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, here in Australia, the small city that we live in, we have that, it's very much an intimate community where the shopkeepers, like I moved here a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I'm American, so I kind of stick out because of my accent. But it's generally that beautiful small town feel of the shopkeepers knew me by name. And so to see on that level, when the shops were closed, that interaction, that level of interaction that I was getting every day, just going to my shops, and then the neighborhood pub closing, and
Yeah.
Australians, like they love their cafes, they love their pubs, right? They're like these neighborhood gathering places. So
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
really does impact. I see it more here where I'm living than I did, when I lived in bigger cities in the US. But, it's so interesting to see how it has taught a lot of people to be grateful for those small things
Yeah,
you take
yeah,
for granted.
absolutely. Absolutely, really precious.
So can you speak about, maybe share some of the ways that, Eden energy medicine can actually help people with, just like the, whether we're in the pandemic or even just the usual stresses of life, how it works, and maybe, what I love about it is it's a simple tool that once you learn a few of the exercises, you have the ability to do it whenever you need.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that place of bringing awareness that you have specific energy systems. And I know that many of you will be aware of your chakras, your aura. You have an amazing electrical system. Many of you will be aware of acupressure or acupoints because you have energy lines in your system, these channels of energy that are called meridians. All of those systems weave together and work together in very, very specific ways. So exactly the same way as your circulatory system or your digestive system or any of your anatomical systems have to work together. It's exactly the same with your energy system. Since I was born, I've been able to see energy. I grew up in a very rural area and spent lots of time on the land with horses, with animals, with a big family. And being able to see the human energy field, the natural energy field has always been part of my normal. And so being able to see how all of these different energy systems fit together it was able to really give me an insight as to how things fall apart physically when something is not in place energetically. And that's really, really key. The physical body responds to what's going on in your energy field. And because we're not taught energy at school, because our kids aren't empowered in those kind of deep intuitive knowings about body rather than scientific understandings about bodies, then we get this kind of big gap between what we understand and what we can just naturally and intuitively do. So, I mean, I've taught energy work, energy understandings. I had a private practice for 20 years. So I've taught it for a long time. And one of the things that really always struck me was how a lot of people would intuitively do something, maybe when they were feeling heartache or feeling lost or separate, they would cross their hands over their chest. I mean, how many people, I'm sure a lot of you listening, have gone to bed and you've kind of just tucked in? Well, that is energy work. If you've had a shock, if you're kind of despairing, you do, that's energy work. But we don't quite have the language around it, do we? Many people will sit with their arms. Let me show you. So they'll sit with their hands like this, where you're holding very powerful points in the arm. So I think the purpose of energy medicine is to reconnect you with the understanding that you can affect your energy all the time. Every time you think about, well, anything actually, but especially if you're thinking about yourself, your body, your health, then those thoughts carry immense power of changing energy patterns, changing dysfunction into balance and health. So when we come to energy exercises, it's a way that you can quickly bring a balance, to bring that energy system back on board. Because I guess one of the start points in this is, why isn't your energy balanced all the time perfectly anyway? Because it should be. That's what it's designed to do. And that's really key. And I know you know that, Sheila, that your energy system is designed to be totally in connection with itself, working in exactly the right way. You have a template of health that's wrapped around every single cell, every organ, every bone. And that template of health knows how to move in complete balance. And I don't just mean physically. When you're in balance, and you also know that you're connected to much more, just like we were talking about the physical and the collective or the community or the global being connected, like, you're not just bobbing around in your own little life separate from anything else. So your energy fields know how to connect. They know what's necessary. But, and this is the kicker butt, isn't there? But there will have been experiences in your life, even if you had the most perfect childhood, the most perfect adulthood, there will have been experience that began to impact your energy fields. Maybe a trauma happened, an experience happened that made you a little less, something that activated your fight, flight, and freeze response. And my goodness, that is an amazing response. We've all been there. We've all had something emotional, physical, energetic that has really kind of caused us to restrict, caused us to go into that sort of protection pattern. Maybe it was the first heartbreak you experienced when your love left you, or maybe, I think by the time we get to any age, we've experienced many times when we've had to go into protection. So that's really healthy. The challenge is that protection can actually get a bit locked in. And when that happens, now you're working with a sort of, I think of it as a software glitch. That's all it is. Your amazing energy system that knows how to be completely interwoven, working in health, keeping you vibrant so that you can live your big life. Well, now there's this little pattern in it, a little habit in it, that the rest of your system has to move around. That's all it is. That's all. Any trauma, any dysfunction, those words like self-sabotage, completely disagree with them. They're just little glitches in your energy system that the wisdom of your whole system can't quite find how to bring into balance. So then, if you're able to understand your energy, if you're able to think, oh, I'm in that place of protection right now. Okay, now I want to expand my aura. I want to give myself, my energy fields, natural protection, and I know what to do. And then maybe you bring a breath into your heart and you just breathe it out through your aura. And you do that a few times. And then you feel, oh, I've got some space, I've got some expansion, I've got some choice. So the energy work that brings in energy exercises and consciousness brings that kind of coming together of your awareness. You know there's something you can do, so you feel empowered, and then you do it. And that, of course, is always the beautiful thing. It's a bit like having a book and having all of the knowledge in the book, but you've actually got to read the book. Hey? You've actually got to do something to the body system. And Sheila, you were saying that there were times that you've actually worked with energy medicine 2-3 times, doing little routines or bringing in corrections. And it's that place of kind of understanding that we always have choice. When I woke up this morning, it's no longer too early for me now, but when we started this, it was early for me. It's just after 7 o'clock in the morning. So when I woke up at 6, did some energy exercises, made sure I was really grounded. I greeted the day. I went outside, the sun was rising. I worked with just a understanding. I said hi to the trees. So I grounded myself in time, in place. I connected into the amazing spirits of nature, and wow, feel incredibly vibrant now here with you. So it's about understanding that you have huge power. You are empowered to work with your energy anytime.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that, with choosing to be here today, you knew that what you needed to do to just sort of tap into that aliveness that you knew is possible, rather than being in the other energy of like, oh God, I hate getting up real early in the morning, and this isn't my usual, wake up time, and I feel groggy, right? Like, and sort of almost perpetuating the state by resisting the state, right? Like,
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that I really want to say, because it's so important, is that in all of the people I've ever taught or worked with in clinical practice, and some of them were desperately, desperately ill, yeah? The movement from that place of imbalance, ill health, disease, whatever we want to call it, to health, beginning to move into that spiral of balance, of wonder, of being able to really connect with life. The movement was always tiny. That's really, really important. It's not like we have to spend huge amounts of money, time, effort, like battling to create a massive movement, a massive shift. That's not the truth. And I think it's especially not the truth now. Like, the human energy field is speeding up. The cosmic energy field is really speeding up. So to have the understanding that it's just a tiny movement, it things start moving. So I totally love it, Sheila, that is, you're identifying that place of choice. I can think of a couple of nights ago, I was walking up the stairs. I'd had a really challenging work day. As we all know that there are days when everything flows and other days where I just really couldn't. I was writing, I couldn't really find the words. I'm in the middle of deconstructing a program, an online class, and it's not quite working. So I want to deconstruct it and create it all again. So I'd had that kind of day when, you're sort of pulling your hair out. And I walked up the stairs in the evening, and as I got up to the top of the stairs, I thought, I'm really, what a crappy kind of day. I feel absolutely tired out. And I stopped myself, right? I stopped on the stairs. I'm like, yeah, that's true. There's truth in that. But there's only a tiny bit of truth in that, because I also had an awesome day with my daughter. We've got a puppy in the house, so lots of joy there. And I know the work I'm doing, even if it's challenging, is going to create an even better course. And suddenly, what happened energetically was my heart system, this amazing electromagnetic energy of my heart, lifted. And I was able to start experiencing gratitude for the day instead of that kind of victimization, eh? Oh, poor me, I've had a really tired day. And that was a place that my energy was taking me to, based on all kinds of past stuff. And instead, I was able to identify it and say, No, come on, that's not how I choose right now. So by the time I got upstairs, when my husband happened to be upstairs, I could feel joyful. I could feel expansive again. And it's exactly that place, Sheila, isn't it? Of being able to identify. Now, in that time, I didn't do an energy exercise because I was able to move it quite quickly, but I would have if I couldn't. In that instance, if let's do something together, because in that instance, if you're in a place where you recognize, everything's flattening, everything's beginning to move in, and we all know that feeling, eh? When you haven't got any juice left, when you just feel like, bleh. So if that happens, there's lots that's happening in your energy field, but one of the really key things, and I love it, Sheila, that in the middle of your title and your vision for this summit, you're talking about healing the heart, because my goodness, that your heart energy holds the entire rhythm of your body. All of your energy fields are in service to the energy of your heart. Really beautiful understanding, eh? They all work to kind of ensure that your heart, because it's a vehicle of consciousness, yeah, it's an organ that beats with huge sentience, wisdom, knowledge. So whenever you feel like disheartened, that's the word we'd use, isn't it? Disheartened, yeah? It literally means the heart has left the system. So whenever you feel disheartened, then there's so much you can do. Can we do something, Sheila, so that we can actually really feel that empowerment there?
Yeah, great.
All right, let me pop this on something different.
Let me drink water, because
First,
water is always good with energy work.
water is essential, and when we talk about the heart, then we understand why, because water carries the electromagnetic energy through your body system, and your heart is massively electric. So if you don't have that conductivity through your system, your heart field will be much more prone to collapse. So yeah, water, especially when you live in a hot country like you do. So let's do an exercise. Very simple. You can take both your fingers and put them in your armpits and just let your thumbs fall wherever they naturally do. So this beautiful heart hug, think of the fact that right now, maybe close your eyes if you're comfortable to do so. If not, leave them open, that's fine. But thinking about the fact that right behind that place that your wrists or arms are crossing over is an organ protected by another organ, your big heart protector. Physiologically, we call it the pericardium. Energetically, we tend to call it the heart protector. So your heart has an energy field that moves deep inside to connect it to your energetic core, this place of your essence, of your depth, of your dreams and your longings, of your soul. In that energetic core are amazing, amazing wisdoms, experiences, understandings of how to live your big life, how to live the life that you are here to live. So your heart deeply connected into that energetic core, deeply connected to the knowledge of who you are in your magnificence, who you are in your bigness. And bigness doesn't have to be brash or bold. Bigness can be quiet. Bigness can be radiant. Bigness for me simply means living your real life, the life that you are here to live. So from that place of deep connection, your heart beats the rhythm of your body, of your energy, of your thoughts. And as you hold this heart hug, you're able to connect it even more, bring in even more alignment, so that the wisdom of your heart, the joy of it, the deep sense of belonging can flow out through the heart organ, through the chest, through the heart chakra. So let's begin to weave that energy field. So taking your hands from your chest, and let's do some figure eights as if they were lying down. So you're doing a figure eight between your heart and the edge of your energy field. And you can think, feel, imagine, visualize that as your hands move from your heart field out to the edge of your energy field, then actually that pattern is being mirrored from every inch of your skin, so that the energy between every part of your skin on all of your body is creating this beautiful fabric of love, of connection, of trust, of wisdom in every part of your energy.
This is fabulous.
Yeah. Feels beautiful, doesn't it? And what it does, if you're finished, you can bring your hands back to your chest. If you want to just keep going, then keep going. What it does is enliven every part of your auric field, your aura. But it enlivens it by connecting the heart to the depth of you and allowing that to radiate out. So it's a deep grounding. It's a grounding into yourself. And from that place, wow, you're really able to experience more space, more fun, more everything.
Yeah, almost like it's your natural state of joy, like before all the crap happened, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
absolutely true. And also, if we were lucky, then when we were little, we really experienced that joy. If we didn't grow up in a supportive or nurturing environment, then we might never have experienced that joy. But every step you take along your life, every breath you take, can reconnect you to that, not only that original joy, but I feel the older we get, the more we're able to house it in the body. It's like the more we're able to clock up all of those experiences that really weren't great, the experiences that pulled the rug from under our feet, the experience that just diminished the light, the power in our energy fields. We're able to remember them and clock them up and think, wow, and I really want the fullness. I really want the joy. And it's that decision to choose it. It's that decision to allow the radiance, the longing of the soul, to activate it that, wow, just makes such a difference. So yeah, the older you are, the more experienced you are, then actually the bigger your capacity for joy, the bigger your capacity to choose.
Yeah.
Which is great news for especially women who are going through menopause and feeling like, oh, I'm kind of just hanging on by my fingertips. You release
Yeah.
so much power.
Yeah. Well, and I think at least many of my friends that are my age or like within 10 years of my age, I think that from like 45 to 65, it's you're in this, many of my friends are in this beautiful place where they are healing, right? They, you reach a point in your 40s that when, if you get to recognize that the patterns keep repeating and you wake up to yourself on that level. And many of my friends are using this time, right? It's just a different space. And actually in Ayurveda, I remember years ago when I was in my 30s, my Ayurvedic practitioner was telling me that, in the 20s, there's this energy, your 30s is this energy, your 40s is this energy. And it was definitely like, I came across those notes when we moved a year and a half ago. When we moved, I came across the notes from that session, and I was like, oh, wow, like 15 years later, I'm like, he's so right. Like, this is the energy of where I am now. So I think, yeah, there's so much to that, that as we age, it's an opportunity. It presents an opportunity for healing. And when we heal, it's the wisdom and the joy. We're tapping into wisdom and joy.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we begin to realize that we're doing it for ourselves in order to affect something bigger than ourselves. I think that's the wisdom of moving towards eldership, isn't it? Elders have the understanding that the work they're doing in their life, and I mean by living, I'm not meaning external work, the fact that they are alive, the fact that they are sharing information, the fact that they are holding the kind of the anchors or the tent pegs for the rest of their community, their family. It's a different place when we're young. We are totally self-absorbed in all kinds of ways, and that's perfect. That's perfect. But that movement from self-absorption, and I really do mean that. I mean, in England, in the English language, we don't have a positive for the word selfish, yeah? But actually, it's essential to be selfish. Selfish means that we are able to care for ourselves. But we always think of selfishness as a negative. But it's a beautiful journey from that essential and important selfish focus to that place of elderhood. And I feel that place of menopause, and I appreciate if you're a man that you go through a different level of hormonal change. So it's not like I'm excluding men from this transformation. For women, because our body rhythms are so tied to our hormonal rhythms, then when we move into that big change of menopause, then wow, the power that can be released there and moved into a different level of connection. Really, really amazing. I'm nearly 48, and I'm aware that I'm beginning to move into that place. Energetically, I see that when women get to about 36, always before 40, sometimes as early as 35, hormones shift and they begin what we'd call the perimenopause. I know it's very untrendy. We've sold our younger women a myth that they can have their career and then think about having kids at 40, but actually the number of people that can't conceive at that point or have to do so through IVF or fertility help, it's because the body system really changes after 35, 36. And that's not to say you can't still get pregnant, but the access to that level of fertility is much less.
Right.
So from 36 to kind of, whenever real menopause happens, is this time of real deep inquiry. And you mentioned the Ayurvedic understanding in the Chinese rhythms understanding. When we get to 42, we move into the element of wood, and wood really demands big inquiry, big transformation. Wood gives us the chance to, and we were there for about 7 years, so from 42 to 49, wood gives us the chance to really detoxify all of the things that don't work for us. And it demands that we look at our relationship with compassion and judgment. My goodness, that is a biggie, eh? Can we move from judgment into compassion? And can we have ourself in the middle of that? So can we move from self-judgment into self-compassion? Because if we can manage that, we manage it for all of the relationships in our life. And I mean, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's completely. I wasn't familiar with the Chinese medicine aspect of it, but it makes complete sense in terms
Yeah,
of, I'm beyond that age
yeah.
by a few years. And so, and that's exactly what was happening for me at that age. That's
It's
incredible.
amazing. It really is. Like it's a natural truth. And by that I mean it's founded in the rhythms of nature. And the Ayurvedic ancients, the Chinese ancients were able to put a system around it to help us make sense of it. But even if they hadn't, it's still the truth. It's not conceptual system. It's an understanding born out of the rhythms of the world and of the human life. So then I mean, I could talk about the Chinese elements for a long, long time because they
Yeah.
are a real passion.
I,
But for many of us, we would be understanding because right now, then you're in the element of fire. And when we think of that age of 49 to 56, most women go through menopause then, and men go through a reconnection with what makes them passionate. And sometimes we think of it as a midlife crisis, because they might be looking for passion in different ways. But fire, heat, passion, kind of big transformations. So one of the ways that a lot of people experience menopause, of course, is through hot flushes. And
Mhm.
that's because of this relationship with fire that's being changed in the body. And if you haven't been able to move the place of judgment into compassion, then that fire is going to be really pushing hard in your system. So yeah, when we think of ourselves, our bodies, the world energetically, a lot begins to make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. I wanted to say that actually, when I first found Eden energy medicine, I was entering into, you know, I found it when I was like still perimenopause. And then, it actually was one of my tools through it. And I
Yeah.
really had like the most, mild, like time with it. I mean, I had friends that were, their hot flashes woke them up at night, right?
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
like just completely covered in
Right.
sweat
Yeah.
and had to change their pajamas because of how
Yeah.
sweaty they were. So, like I had friends that were really suffering with it. And for me, it was so mild. It was just a matter of like doing my energy routine every day and keeping my
Yeah.
energy flowing. And yeah, it was good. This fly keeps showing up. So like out of nowhere.
a
Um,
little a little helper spirit. But also, Sheila, like you were doing a lot of the deep work, weren't you?
yeah,
So
yeah.
hormones are affected by, well, everything. They're super quick. And often they will be the first sign that there's imbalance in your system. So the fact that you are actually committing by that point already to exploring some of the deeper themes, having tools that could help move it and balance it would have meant that you were continually balancing your hormones as well. So yeah, it's not just some people have a beautiful easy ride through menopause and pay no attention to the deep stuff. So it doesn't always correlate, but it does make sense that you were already clearing patterns that might have shown up in hormonal imbalance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had other things like weight gain,
Mm.
um, yeah, like little nuisancey things, but not your, big, annoying, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of finding how I needed to change what I was eating and being more mindful. So in many ways, like the way that the changes I needed to make in order to be healthy were actually more ways I needed to be supporting my energy and my consciousness. I mean, it really
Yeah.
just came down to that. Of just,
Yeah, absolutely. I have a program which I designed, I think 3 years ago now. So it's been running. We've had several hundred people go through it, called the Mighty Menopause. And it's
okay.
exactly that. It's to like help women understand, because oh my goodness, we get a lot of negativity around this incredible time of transformation. And even as we've been talking about the understanding of your thoughts affecting your energy, even that sort of dread that women start to have from their mid 40s, like, oh, my mum had a terrible menopause, so did my auntie, I'm going to have one too. That's setting up a pattern in your energy system. So to be able to provide the alternative, to be able to say, like, when you are going through and when you have completed that massive transition, then the energy that you have at your resource, the energy that has actually been going into your monthly cycle to keeping you creative and productive in the way of birth of children. All of that energy, and it is massive, all of that energy is available for something else. So what are you going to create? What are you going to birth now? What are you birthing in yourself? I mean, it's a really beautiful time. I'm so excited because I already feel that energy is shifting in my body system, and it's big and it's thick and it's amazing. I have quite a lot of energy generally because for the most part I do a lot of work and keep it in balance, but I know that it's it always feels like there's a bit of a volcano, and there's even more. That fire is rising in me for what's possible over the next 10 years.
Right, right. Well, and you're birthing a book.
I am birthing a book, and it was quite a long labor, but my goodness, yeah. So I've just finished writing. That was one of the really beautiful gifts of the coronavirus time. It meant that I couldn't go off teaching a lot, and usually I'm away from home a lot. So I was really able to concentrate on writing a book, which is now finished. We've just put a call out for illustrators, had some amazing, amazing responses. I really want to be able to empower people with the visuals, the easy understandings of what, let's say we just talked about the energetic core, like what does it look like? Because it's a way that you can make more sense of it, eh? So this book looks at energy anatomy, and then it looks at how themes like kindness is energy, how wisdom, how resilience, how being empowered, that's all based in your energy systems. And when you can do simple exercises to really help engender that in your body system, then wow, your life changes. So it's been great. I hope that it will be in my hands by December of this year. So it's going to be quite a quick turnaround. So yeah, exactly. Birthing a book.
Fabulous, fabulous. So when you're talking about having an illustrator illustrate for you, um, are you talking to them about like what you see energetically, and then they're trying to actually illustrate what you're describing? Is that?
That is exactly what we're going to be doing, Sheila. And actually, I went through that process a few years ago now, with an amazing, amazing woman, a close friend, an amazing woman. And she's since died. But it was such a beautiful experience to be able to chat with her. And, she'd say, all right, talk to me about the aura. And I would begin to explain its size, its shapes, the dynamic nature of it. And actually, it's not a great example to choose because with the aura, we had to break it down because there's so many different layers of information. Your aura is a huge information package. It keeps you protected, it keeps you connected, keeps you grounded. It makes sure it helps with other systems align you to what you need from the depth in you. And so I was able to, let's say, break it down, and I wanted to talk about the web of connection that's in the aura. So I'd explain it to her, and then maybe 24 hours later, she would send me this image, and they're all on my website. So Prune Harris, maybe not all, but many, many, many of them are under the energy anatomy section of my website. That's pruneharris.com. So go and have a look at them, because they give you the understanding of like, wow, there are these lines of connected energy all through the aura. And then also, just like we did with our heart exercise, there are what I call lemniscates, these 8 patterns, the infinity sign, ancient understanding of it as being a form of connection. And your energy field is absolutely packed with them. The more vibrant you are, the more lemniscates or figure eights you have in your energy system. When you begin to get depleted, they begin to get less vibrant. It doesn't mean that you have less of these patterns, but think of a dimmer switch. Yeah. If you've got that dimmer switch down pretty low, then the light, the information, the energy that's carried in each one of those 8s is much less. If you are absolutely bursting with vitality and health, then every one of those lemniscates is also lit up, carrying information at a different level, inviting your vibration to be at a different level. But it was such an amazing process being able to chat with her. She was called Anna Maria Patchouli, chat with Anna Marie, and then this thing would appear, and wow, I mean, she nailed it every time. And the vibrancy. So I've used them as teaching tools now for, well, probably the last 10 years, because it's really, I feel, when we understand how something looks, then we begin to understand that we house that and we begin to be in relationship with it. Otherwise, they're just kind of abstract concepts, aren't we? We talk about an aura, but if you don't have an idea of what it actually feels like, looks like, moves like, then they remain abstract. So yeah, I really felt important to be bringing visuals forward. And now I want more visuals. And so, yeah, it's going to be an exciting process. Yesterday I spent time going through the applications of illustrators and beginning to get excited about some of what they were showing. So yeah, that's my May and June project, is work in that way.
Great. So I have a question, because I've been really curious since the beginning of this talk, when you said that as a child, you could see people's energy fields. Um, did they, did you always see them the same way? Or when you started to study this, did your vision become more developed? Or like, what was that like as a kid?
Yeah, that's a really brilliant question. When I began to study different modalities it was the reason I was drawn to study with Donna Eden, because when I read her energy medicine book, she was the first person or system that I'd come across that my understandings resonated with. I would read something maybe from the meridians understanding, the Chinese understandings, but they didn't house the chakras in those understandings. I would read something from the Ayurvedic, but they didn't house the meridians in those understandings. So there was beautiful learnings to be had, and places I could really meet each of these, all of the ancient traditions. And yet it didn't feel quite full enough for me as far as what I perceived when I looked at the human or the animal or the trees. So when I read Donna's book, I thought, this is someone. There are some differences in how she sees energy and how I see energy, but it's the difference with language generally. Yeah, energy is a language. So you, as an American, you will know that parts of Australian language, English language, is very different, and yet we're all talking the same language. There's just very different words. So there are subtle ways that Donna and I might perceive something differently, but understanding that it's simply semantics, it's simply language there. So when I saw energy as a child, it was, I would just say, it was very organic. There wasn't any need to make sense of anything. Certain colors meant certain emotions, certain density, my natural way. When I was a child, I saw color a lot. And then as I moved on into my adolescence, so by 10, 11, and I experienced a loss of a sibling at age 11. And so there was also big change going on in my energy field and my life and my grief and everything else. But for a while after that, those colors changed to seeing much more as if you're looking at an X-ray. So that sort of grayscale. Now, that doesn't mean it was any less than colors. Grayscale is still my go-to. If I'm working with a client, if someone is asking me to actually look at their energy, because it's a very ethical thing, eh? It's like, I try and keep it I can't turn it off, but I try and keep it as non-personal. But when I've got permission and I'm working for someone and I'm looking to see what's going on in the system, then that sight will switch to grayscale. Because for me, the vibration of gray, just like when you look at an X-ray and you've got denser energy is a lighter color, more less dense energy it gets darker and darker. Very, very similar with the way I see energy naturally. So I think when I began to really study meridians, then it's all about the light and the dark, the gray and the brightness. That's how I tend to, if I was looking at someone's meridian system, then it would be cool. Everything's flowing really easily in that big channel of light. There's a gray area in this particular kidney meridian, let's say. Okay, so how do we get that gray area into more light? So it became, as I took my learnt attention more, as I trained more in different energy modalities, I think it just became sort of about what lens do I slot in front of that perception. Everybody perceives energy all the time. I mean, we're animals, and animals are energetic. So we are always in that place of perceiving energy. I've taught energy perception a lot, and people always want to see it. But actually, seeing energy is, for me, much slower than knowing and hearing energy. So a lot of people have that real intuition where you just know something. You just know that that phone is about to ring, or you just know that your friend, really, there's something deeply off with them, or you know that your cousin has died before it happens. Like that sense of knowing, called clairsentience. Yeah. It's an amazing way of being able to feel in. Some people are really kinesthetic. They feel energy. They're sitting with someone and they feel like, oh, my chest is really tight. And they begin to understand that that means either that there's something going on in the heart energy of their friend, or maybe there's something going on with the lungs. And then it's about being in relationship with the information and how it comes in. But every single one of us know it, feel it, hear it, see it. Some people taste it, clairgustance. There's a different taste. And actually, I've had many, many people come up to me when I teach to say, I can taste the energy of cancer. And every one of those people has nursed a loved one with cancer. And so they've begun to understand that there's this specific taste that they get in their mouth. And then maybe they're on a bus, or maybe they're sitting in a classroom and they taste that and they can identify who it's from. So, perceiving energy is a natural thing for us, but it can also be a little bit scary. Kids, we talked about older people, but the kids right now, the young people, so I'm talking from children to kind of early 30s. That's funny to define them as kids, but yeah, that shows you my age now. That, let's say, young people to 27, 28, if you are one of those children listening now, then you're really wired differently. Your energy systems move much, much quicker than mine does, or that Sheila's does, or that your mum and dad's does. Your energy system is designed to know and perceive energy quicker than any of ours did. And that's why we're seeing a lot of anxiety in young people right now, and also a real call for ceremony and ritual, because their energy systems know that level of consciousness and speed. So yeah, we've got exciting times coming up as those young people move more and more into leadership, I think. And of course, we'll be the ones that are supporting them. But in lots of ways, they need to lead us, because they're operating in a different reality, in a different world. We were talking, we've both got sons that are nearly 21, and they are literally, they vibrate differently than the children that I grew up with when I was 21. Those kids were different than now. So yeah, exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when my son was a baby, well, a toddler, up until about the age of 6, he's telepathic. And I haven't fine-tuned that skill. So I wasn't as telepathic as he was. but I had a friend who in Sydney, and she had babysat him a number of times, and they developed this really beautiful relationship. And she was one of my spiritual friends. She'd been on a spiritual path for a long time, and she was telepathic. And she and Ethan, from spending time together, had developed an ability to talk to each other. And I witnessed this on several occasions where she had some storybooks from her childhood that she brought to our house. And I was on the phone with her, and he was 3.5, 4 years old. And he took the phone from my hand because he knew it was her. And he went and got one of the books that she had left at our house, which had no words. It was a Mercer Mayer book that's out of print now. And it was like A Frog and a Boy or something. And he literally sat there on my lap and turned the pages. And he was reading the book to her over the phone. And she was getting the images telepathically. I mean, it blew my mind to watch this. And then when he handed the phone back, when he was done reading to her, she said, "Do you know what he just did? He just read me that whole book." Like, they are different. Like, these kids that have come in, like my son used to blow my mind with stuff when he was little. So, you know, and I am hoping that he will reclaim those gifts, because he made a decision at 6. He said to me, he goes, "Mom, I don't do that anymore."
Yep. Yeah, and really wise, because it's a world that hasn't quite, in our modern societies, we haven't quite understood how to hold those gifts yet. Thankfully, there's many forerunners, people like yourself, people like me, people like nearly everybody who will be part of this summit, who have much broader understandings. But, you know, my heart, I recently did an energy of parenting course, and we'll be producing it every year, because parents are so desperate to know how to support these amazing kids and to make sense of why they're different, why their energy is different. Because what we're seeing, of course, is lots of young people self-harming, working with really crippling anxiety, not functioning in the school system at all, because the school system isn't designed to manage this level of, we could call it sensitivity, and it is, but I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It's sensitivity in a way that will ensure that as we move forward as a human collective, then we do so in much more balance. But we've got this kind of old and new paradigm that's a pretty uncomfortable place, and sensitive children feel that uncomfortableness. They carry it almost as a burden for us all at the moment. So it can get really, really tricky. So that's super wise at age 6. So he was coming into his first expression of that wood energy that we were just talking about. Yeah, they come in at age 7. So at that point, he understood that he needed that protection, that actually that was something he couldn't sustain. But that gift will always be there for him, as well as many others. Like these children are layered in their perception understandings. And you're absolutely right. If it becomes relevant to him to expand that again, then he will. Yeah, really, really beautiful. And I also believe that these children come into parents that are able to house, nurture, hold those gifts. So that means that you're a very special person as well, Sheila, for showing up, for signing up to kind of saying, yeah, I'm gonna be a boundary walker. I'm gonna be a soul guardian of these children that are going to show us a different way. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, and before I conceived him, you know, he actually communicated with me, like, you know, the bond started before conception. And, you know, it's actually quite magical, some of the experiences I had, yeah, just around that time. So,
so special.
yeah.
So special. It's such a gift, isn't it? Such a gift to be able to be with a young person and help guide them. And one of the things that I really want to say is that you don't have to be a biological parent to play that role either. What I've really seen, and I saw in the Energy of Parenting course, there was a number of people who took that course who were sole guardians of children. And by that, I mean they might have been nurses or doctors or teachers or social workers, some with their own children, many not with their own children, but understanding, really claiming their role as sole guardians to these children. And I was really humbled by that, really humbled. That's a big it's a big sense of responsibility and ownership, isn't it? To be saying, yeah, I'm standing for these kids, and they're not biologically mine, and it's as important. Really, really wowed and respected that.
Well, and if you think about it, that in the ancient cultures, that's what people used to do. Like I was raised Catholic, and that was supposed to be the whole reason of having godparents, was that they were supposed to be sole guardians, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, beautiful.
So, well, this has been fabulous, Prune. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared. And you mentioned that you created a special gift just for people in the audience. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a energy essentials for everyday living, which has all kinds of amazing consciousness tools, energetic tools, quick ways that you can bring that choice in, really help bring the healing into your energy field. And that's a paid course. And I wanted to be able to really offer something for you to be able to offer your audience that was immediately available and transformative. So I've put together 2 modules from that course. And it's one on how to work with your energy when you feel that slump. And I mean, all of us feel it, eh? Many people feel it at 11 o'clock in the morning. Some people feel it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That one would be the most common. When you've gone through your day and then suddenly, oh, there's really not much what to do in that situation. So fatigue in that situation, and also stress. Because remember, we talked right at the start of this talk about how stress puts you into that field of protection. It kicks in your habitual field, your reactive field. So if you're able to do some exercises to really encourage creativity back, encourage that growth back, then wow, life can be really different. So I've put together a mini course, and Sheila, I'm trusting the link will be sent or housed in your beautiful summit.
Yes.
So yeah, please come along and do that. It's all for free, and there's several videos in there that can really just support you so that you can live your big life. You are here to live it. Every one of us is here to live it, and we can. It's a very simple choice. Takes a little bit of work, but it's a very simple choice, and that's my real big wish for you.
Thank you, Prune. That was so generous to like create a little mini course for everybody. So great, and then that will support people where they're at, and then they can find you at pruneharris.com. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to be back to meeting people as well. I'm really excited. We've got some amazing online offerings, but my goodness, I'm excited to be back in the class meeting people. So at some point, that will be that. I was actually in Australia teaching a few years ago now, but I fell in love with it. So yes.
Oh, good. Well, I look forward to when you come and teach again.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll wrap it up, but I'm so honored that you came and shared, and shared your wisdom and your love and your beautiful heart. So thank you.
Thanks, Sheila. Really, my big pleasure.
So I hope you all have enjoyed the conversation with Prune, and we have many more wonderful interviews coming. So stay tuned, and thank you for being with us today. And all the links for Prune's free gift and her website and ways to find her are all below this video, and we'll be seeing you in the next interview. So thanks so much and take care.